Bermuda Triangle survivor says something new about the mystery. We have all heard about the mystery surrounding the famous Bermuda Triangle, a strange area in the ocean where planes and ships disappear without a trace. This area is formed over 3 locations, the island of Bermuda, Puerto Rico, and Miami, which, if drawn in lines, would resemble a triangular pattern. It has been notorious for mysteriously having swallowed over 2,000 ships and 200 airplanes. Over the years, many theories have come up from scientists and commoners alike regarding the truth. They range from magnetic fields to alien abductions to ancient sea creatures. But there is also a famous story of a pilot who miraculously escaped from the area. The aircraft was Beechcraft Bonanza. Bruce Gernon, the pilot, embarked on a journey from Andros Town Airport in the Bahamas along with 2 other passengers, his father and business partner. They were headed northwest for the Florida coast. It was December 4, 1970. Bruce had taken the route several times before and it usually took him about an hour and a half. So, it was a normal flight for the man. But this time, it would be different. Bruce took off from the Bahamas and started gaining altitude. At about 1,000 feet, he noticed a small cloud. At that time, they were close to the island of Bimini. Oddly enough, the cloud kept growing in size. Bruce had no option but to fly right through it. He came out from the other end just fine. When they hadn't traveled very far, another mysterious cloud appeared before them. This one was even more massive in size and once more, he had no choice but to fly through it. It got eerily dark around the aircraft and not a single ray of sunshine got through. It wasn't exactly like an ordinary cloud. Soon, they saw flashes of bright light. It kept flashing on and off, like massive lightning. But being an experienced pilot, Bruce knew this certainly wasn't lightning. Bruce kept flying for another 30 minutes through the huge cloud that didn't seem to end. Until he realized this was the same cloud that he had passed through earlier. The cloud was cylindrical and their aircraft was flying through its center. The cloud was curved like a donut with a diameter of about 48 kilometers. Their aircraft was trapped in the center of this donut cloud. Bruce thought that their fate was sealed. The walls of the cloud began to narrow and seemed to be closing in on the plane. The navigation instruments started misfunctioning. The compass was spinning haywire. Bruce seemed to have lost control over the plane as the cloud walls kept wrapping around the plane like a vortex. After flying for about another 20 kilometers, Bruce noticed a gap on the western side of the cloud. He maneuvered the airplane towards the gap in a desperate attempt to escape the mysterious clutches of the cloud. He then experienced the most intense 20 seconds of his life. As he explained it later, he made a run for the gap and finally gushed out of the darkness. He felt absolutely weightless for the next few seconds. The cloud dispersed and the aircraft came out in a grayish haze. The men heaved a huge sigh of relief even as their hearts raced and their minds tried to make sense of what exactly they had experienced. Bruce immediately grabbed the radio and contacted ground control. He asked them to know about his whereabouts and location. When the official looked at his screen, he was confused. Astonishingly, Bruce's plane wasn't visible on the radar. It was as if it didn't exist. After rechecking, the dispatcher told him that the aircraft was in Miami airspace. This confused Bruce out of his wits. It simply couldn't be true. The whole trip was supposed to be covered in 90 minutes. This time, it had taken just 47 minutes to get to the destination. This was practically impossible. But when the clouds parted, Bruce indeed realized that they were over Miami. The plane made it safely to the ground. The dumbfounded trio tried to make sense of what had happened throughout their flight. Bruce checked the remaining fuel and his watch. The plane had not consumed the amount of fuel it should have. Bruce had experienced something like this for the first time in his long flying career. But everything seemed to indicate that his plane had skipped over almost half the distance. The men thought about their mysterious experience for a long time. Bruce just couldn't let go of the incident and consulted experts. But none of them could come to an exact conclusion as to what had happened. So, Bruce came up with his own theory and went on to write a book about it. He surmised that they had passed through an electric fog with white flashes. Others thought that they had warped through time due to the presence of dark energy. This energy could have curved space-time like a black hole that they experienced as the donut cloud. No matter what the truth was, Bruce and his crew were lucky to get out of it. To this day, there is no conclusive answer for what they had experienced in their flight. Archived records show that 84 sunspots were recorded on that day. A huge solar wind moving almost 440 miles per second had also been documented. This could potentially cause disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field. So, Bruce's theory could be partially correct. But the dark, foggy clouds are reportedly quite a common thing above the area. Zones with low and high pressures constantly keep colliding there, causing storm clouds, and that's another possibility. But no one knows for sure how Bruce's plane got to Miami so quickly. Until the truth is revealed with solid proof, Bruce's experience remains another mysterious puzzle in the history of the Bermuda Triangle.